The decision to replace Lax and bring in Sweater really came with this new meta that we're going to be entering in. And the idea was that the flank watch role, or the traditional flank watch role, is no longer really a thing in today's meta. It's transitioned into a more flexible role, a more floating role where multiple people can get on the cameras and watch the back, while that flank watch is kind of a rotating door of players.
Our mindset now is that we wanted someone who will be like with the team, like during the executes and stuff.
We were just looking for more like a aggressive player that would move in, play more with the team, more team-centric, and I think that's what we found in Sweater.
The process from like me leaving Beast Coast to Oxygen was more of like, I didn't really feel comfortable anymore like on the team, like the stuff that was going on around me. So I just ended up, going to the owner and was like, I want to be not traded, but like bought out by Oxygen since they were interested in me. It was more of like a business decision because like I really, want to win.
Yeah, I've played with Lax for about, I want to say like 4 years, maybe creeping up on 5, and Vert was close 3 to 4 years. Was it difficult to get rid of him? I mean, it's always difficult to get rid of a player, but I felt comfort knowing that Lax he kind of has the personality type where no matter what, he's always going to make sure that he's, doing okay. Like, he's going to make sure that he comes first, and I think he'll be able to excel in whatever role because that's just who he is as a person, is to, make sure that he's good.
It's more of like, because Lax has this like own role that a lot of people know him as, just like a lurker type, But now that we have Sweater, we can actually like do different strats that would like make us like all a team coordinated like strat that we could all like push together, pinch together, like everything like that. We actually tried them out, and I'm not gonna say the pro team, but we tried them against a pro team, and we 11-1'd them on 2 maps with no strats. So we knew at that point it was might be time.
There you go, we're newers and the rest of Oxygen thinking it might be time to make a change. They do, they bring in Sweater. Now, it didn't work out for them yesterday, but we were all talking during the break that the losses that both Oxygen and Spacestation suffered yesterday don't look as bad now that we've seen that both of those teams, Sonics and Parabellum, are looking really good here in Stage 3. So, still 2 strong teams, I think, coming into this third match. The question is, which one's gonna be a little bit stronger?
Yeah, I think you've got to kind of battle the Titans from the old school days, right? Both Oxygen and Space Station Gaming maybe falling off a little bit recently. SSG, I think you can even extend that to the last couple of stages. They've not really been where they wanted to be. But OXG, this has also not been the start that they won. Parabellum, I think, were maybe, at least on paper, not the opponent that they thought they were going up against. We see them now both tied for 8th place. Neither team has gotten even a single point, so it's a tough start. The head-to-head record as well, showing the 2-0 favoring Space Station Gaming. If you want to extend that farther, you can go all the way back to 4-0. It's a 4-game winning streak for SSG, dating back to Stage 2 of last year. And again, rosters change, sure, but still, the way that these two teams have faced off historically has leaned towards the black and yellow.
I think this is the first time we've seen them go all the way down to the bottom of the standings like this to figure out which one of them is going to get them out of a hole. I think we're so accustomed to them being teams that are within the top 4, top 5 echelon, and when they face each other, it's this massive clash. But they both had losses yesterday, which now puts it in a position where this game, even though we're only 2 games into Stage 3, feels like it's even more of a must-win to really start propelling yourself in the right direction. Both teams made one roster move in the off-season period before we got started. Both of them still have some questions they need to answer about how they're going to get integrated. So this is actually a really intriguing matchup on paper.
I mean, I would be shocked if both of these teams languish in the bottom half of the league. Like, I guarantee you, one of these 2 teams is going to be top 4. One of these 2 teams,
Bold take,
I believe, will be going to the major.
Want to put some money on that?
No. We're not in Vegas, we're in LA, man. Let's talk about Space Station Gaming a little bit more here. Now, obviously, you mentioned, Jacob, both of these teams adding a player, removing a player. For Space Station, it was a big addition of Yeti. So Yeti, again, on Sonics, maybe not putting up the greatest numbers all the time, but he brings that fire, he brings that attitude, he brings a little bit more energy in the comms in the match that it seems like Space Station was looking for, and they looked fairly solid overall. Didn't get the win yesterday, but I think this is a team that could go a ways.
Yeah, like I said yesterday, I'm not really overwhelmingly concerned about the Space Station team. I think they already understood that if they were going to make a change, they have to go 100% with it, so to speak. Bringing in Yeti, you understand his work ethic, you understand the team that he's played for in the past, and you're also hoping that given the way that you understand the meta, you're going to be able to integrate him and do it rather quickly. Because this team, I think, from what Yeti mentioned back when he was picked up, he's hell-bent on ensuring that there is a massive comeback story that happens with this SSG squad. They're focusing on majors, they're focusing on getting as far as they possibly can in a really short span of time. And if everyone on this team is playing into the roles that have netted them the most success, then theoretically they should get there. I think we saw glimpses of that in the Skyscraper game yesterday. We didn't see it all the way to the very end. I'd love to be standing here saying SSG won their first game with a new player and it looks like everything is going great. But there were just very, very small flashes as opposed to an overwhelming sense that this SSG team is on the track they need to be right now.
I think it was a weird game yesterday. I felt like they were playing, the rounds that they were losing really hard. They won more rounds than Oxygen, Mirage, or Beast Coast yesterday, but both OXG and MRG averaged more kills per round because they were at least keeping it close when the rounds that they were losing, right? A part of it, I think, was SSG getting kind of dismantled on Tea Room Karaoke. That wasn't a bomb stick they seemed to have a huge success rate on. I also didn't see a high prioritization of Nook. That's something we've seen a couple teams now have Nook be available and only being brought sparingly, but I think in that game it did warrant a couple more attempts just because sure, Faults brought it once, but Sonics had brought Valkyrie every single round, and when you're not having that ability to sneak past those cameras, maybe that's something that could have turned things around for SSG on their attacks. But we'll have to wait and see. I don't think those are mistakes, especially that the map thing that will come back to haunt them. I think that those are things that they can address in the map ban phase or in the operator phase. So I'm excited to see what Space Station can do against Oxygen, hopefully on a bit of a more familiar map.
It was a close loss to Sonics. It was a 5-7, close as you can be outside of overtime, so certainly some skill there. We'll see if they can bring it against their opponents. On the other side of the arena, it's going to be Oxygen. Again, another team that made one change. Yeti, let me finish this energy drink so I can start this other energy drink at 4 p.m. All right, sure. Well, that's Yeti for you. We're going to talk about Oxygen, though. They add in Sweater in the not the off season, the between stage 2, stage 3 time, dropping Laxing. Sweater coming in, being a little bit more of a gunner. When I talked to the players, they were saying Laxing, good at being off on his own, good at being a lurker, but they wanted someone who was a bit more of a team player. They felt they have that in Sweater. Now the chance to go out of the week 1-1, get a win their second day, prove that it's working out.
Again, it's not to say that Laxing's playstyle is a bad thing, because we saw that be utilized to very phenomenal effect during his time on OXG. You would have liked to have gotten a trophy with it. It didn't quite work out.
Just not what they wanted.
Right, exactly. And in Foxday's words, it's now a meta transition where they think having somebody else on the team that can be there for executes and not be offsite holding a different spot is something that they want to use as much as they can. They think it's more helpful to have that additional execute presence, and I can't necessarily blame them given the way that the meta has been going in that direction, but we're still looking for that to be integrated more efficiently. I do agree on the one thing about if you're playing flank watch, it is a flex role, but we still saw Sweater playing into that. He was using crowd control operators. That's where we saw Lion come in a lot. He was playing Nomad, and we kept questioning, is he trying to do what Laxing was doing before? Because it feels like something here isn't clicking yet.
Yeah, when you take out a player like Laxing and you add somebody like Sweater, you're kind of expecting Sweater to be playing more of those entry operators that he's been playing. Maybe not Finka because she got that nerf, but operators like Yana, like Zofia, what have you. And then you were thinking maybe Fox will kind of fall back, take more of those operators, such as Nomad and the Sledge to go to Vert or whoever. But instead it was Fox, 6 rounds out of 6 on the Sledge, on the soft breach, and we saw Sweater kind of flexing around to those more support picks that you typically associate a support kind of flex player with, like the Lion that he was bringing out quite often there on Border. Unfortunate that it didn't really end up working his way. He had decent stats, of course, but so many times they were getting flanked. So many times it was Blads who was really pulling the rug out from under them and catching them on some really aggressive positions that maybe wouldn't have happened if Laxing was still on the team. Still a lot to be determined. I think the other kind of finger you can point at Auction for that loss has to be Vert's. Unfortunate, the man on your screen right now, 0-3 on entry, the fewest kills out of anyone in the league not named Zeno. It's a really tough start for him. He wasn't doing a great job at trading his teammates on the rounds where he wasn't the opening death, so I want to see him playing a little bit better with his teammates, following up Sweater, following up Newers, and hopefully able to get on the scoreboard a couple more times than just thrice.
Yeah, keep in mind yesterday with Oxygen, we had the Stage 1 MVP and the Stage 2 MVP at the bottom of the stats for their team.
Yeah.
And it's only one game. It's a small sample size, but a little bit concerning. We'll see how they can do today. But now it's time to find out how the map bans have lined up, where we're going to go for our last map of Week 1 of Stage 3 here at the Rainbow Six North American League, Xing out Villa and Oregon off the bat.
Villa and Oregon, Villa, Space Station have not played since the 6th Invitational. Oregon, Oxygen have not played since a couple of weeks ago in Berlin. A couple different time frames, but ultimately both maps going to be taken out of the pool. Skyscraper going to be taken out for SSG. They've lost Sky 3 times. The first time against Parabellum in Stage 2. They lost it against Sonics yesterday, and they lost it when they cut Sky from their roster. Border also going to be taken out from OXG. You've got 2 more maps to ban out before I pass it to Jacob. One of them is going to be Bank here coming through, and the other one is going to be Chalet. Interesting that they take out Chalet. Last time Space Station played this map, it was against Sweater, and they got kind of decimated, so I can see not wanting to play him on it again.
Yeah,
Okay.
but there's one map in here I figured SSG would have banned out a lot sooner, and that's Theme Park. OXG, even though they didn't manage to make it out of the Berlin group stage, are still undefeated on that map. It is still in the pool. I think that's kind of the way that this whole ban phase is leaning in the first place. But OXG ban it themselves. SSG banned Dubhouse, so we head to Kafe instead. It's a wrinkle in the plan, but let's see how effective it is. For Space Station, I do believe they've played it twice over the course of this whole year. Both of them were in Stage 1. Both of them were wins. I think one of them was the infamous game where back when Skies was playing, he had a tech issue and then just like put his headset down and walked off again. And for OXG, it's not a very favorable map in most respects, but they have decided with the power of the last ban to go to it. They are 1-2 over the course of this year, and it's one that doesn't have that many plays for either team, so I'd say it's relatively even, but that's just at first glance.
Relatively even would also make sense, given the last time they played it was a 7-5 scoreline back in Stage number 1. Of course, favoring SSG. They've been beating Oxygen consistently for the last year and a bit, but still close scorelines means that it could go the other way today.
Very tight. Another tough one to predict, I think. That's it's hard on the prediction side of things, but it's fun to watch. I like going into maps without it being so obvious, and I feel like nothing is obvious anymore. We saw Mirage dominating fashion earlier today. Like, all bets are off at this point, but we got to make predictions anyway. Now, we already have our caster predictions in ahead of time because we've got another special treat. This time it's going to be Caliber Jacob joining Stokes to cast this next one.
I'm back, baby.
And I'm going to let you do your prediction first. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, hold on. What's the rate at now? Okay, I think if I get this one correct, I'm back up to a solid 50.
Sure.
So I got to make sure I get this one right. I'm going OXG.
Wow.
I think Border is the kind of map that when you play it against a team like Parabellum, you're going to get smoked. I think that was evidenced by the fact that Parabellum have already won it twice. And I like SSG a lot, but I wonder if that roster change is going to take a little bit more time to gel. And if we're talking on a pure mechanical basis, I think Sweater probably has a bit of a leg up with the way OXG want to use him than the way that Yeti does and his overall skill set. It's kind of a gut feeling too, and I also need the points. So yeah, I'll take OXG for this game.
All right, well, I'll balance it out. Maybe I'm digging my grave even farther, but I think SSG. I think, listen, it was a disappointing game from Vertical. We didn't see things lining up the way that I think they should have been for Oxygen. I'm not convinced that we're going to see that turn around. It was, I think, a lot closer, a lot more positives from Space Station. I think their negatives aren't going to be as apparent on a map they've played a little bit more often. So I'm excited for SSG here.
Okay, well, one for Space Station, one for Oxygen. Same goes for Blue and Stokes as well. Blue going Space Station, Stokes going Oxygen. Let's see what the coin has to say. It's going to be heads Space Station. It's going to be tails Oxygen. And it is tails again. What am I doing? Why is it all tails today? I swear this is a normal coin. It's the same one. So it's going to be Oxygen for the coin pick. We'll see what happens. I think this one could go either way. I think it's going to be very tight overall, but I do think both of these teams have players that have the potential to just pop off, right?
Yeah.
Start to dominate. So there's a lot of options, I think, as far as how this one's going to go. It's going to be a bit wild. Let's see what the fans have to say. The fans
are we totally split?
Oxygen. Oh. Okay. It's going to be 3 or 4 and 2 rather. So 4 votes for Oxygen, 2 for Space Station. I don't know. I think that's all you can really say. I don't know. We have to wait and see the map to see who's actually going to take it.
That's what we've been saying that for both of these days.
I know, but it's a whole new year of Rainbow Six North American
No,
League,
I
even though it's
agree with
stage
you,
3
yeah.
of this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right? All right, who will get more entry frags today? Is it going to be Hot and Cold or Newers? Now, Hot and Cold had a really hot day.
Yeah.
Not much of the cold port yesterday for him. Newers as well. I think he needs to step it up a little bit today, though, to be able to match that. But we'll see. Both coming in 0-1. Somebody's got to pop off, right?
We're hoping.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to see who wins the final match of week number 1 here in Rainbow Six NAL Stage 3. Don't go anywhere. We'll return in just a few.
On track, now we going way up. Now we going way up. Now we going. Keep the same energy. Work on being better when I'm 70. Your drip is just a water spring. You know I drip different, just the 7 C's. I deal with life different, make that lemon squeeze. We're known for my style and identity. Better bounce back and get the cheddar cheese. I guess that's why they envy me. On track, now we going way up. W's as easy as a layup. Working late, stay up. Counting all the way up. Counting blessings, yeah, you know we pray up. Way up, way up. On track, now we going way up. Now we going way up. Now we going. On track, now we going way up. Now we going way up. Now we going. I got his band like I'm Barry Bonds. Running through the money, but the money's long. I don't love it, but I need it, keep it coming on. Only friendly, me and friends, we don't get along. I put that on my name, that I put them on. I put myself on stage as they sing along. I might book a session, do 100 songs. I'ma let you hear them just to prove you wrong. On track, now we going way up. W's as easy as a layup. Working late, stay up. Counting all the way up. Counting blessings, yeah, you know we pray up. On track, now we going way up. Now we going way up. Now we going. On track, now we going way up. Now we going way up. Now we going.
Like glue, the leather stuck on me. I wanna move. And do. Yeah, they all want a piece of me. Everyone in the crowd wanna feel it, they wanna be me. Thought I would make it big. Now I got all the gold that I need to be free. And you
So it's long been regarded as a fight between two titans of the North American League, especially for both teams that have had such a history. Wait.
What?
Hang on a second.
Why are you? Where's John?
I'm usually over there.
Yeah. What the hell's going on?
That's a good question. Where's John?
Jesse?
Am I John?
Are you Jesse?
Am I Jesse?
You're casting?
I'm worried. Take me home.
We'll get with corporate later. Anyways, guys,
is a corporate
welcome back
problem
to
now.
the commentator desk.
Hello.
My name is Stokes. This is Caliber Jacob. We're going to be casting the last
We finally
game
got
of
to do
the
a game
day.
together. It only
Yes.
took 2.5 years.
It took some time, but we finally made it here, and we got a banger of a game on our hands.
It's a banger of a game, but I said it on the desk. I still think it's weird that we're finding both teams at the very, very bottom of the scoreboard, at least for right now. I think we're looking at a Spacestation team that has less problems to fix overall, but an OXG team that probably has a bit of a higher skill ceiling just just given the fact that Sweater has done what he has over the past 2 stages and is looking to come in hot on a team that very desperately needs his skill set in order to finally raise a trophy, because they're so close, they just haven't been able to get there as of late.
Yeah, having both of these teams not exactly looking in form almost feels like it's against the law when it comes to North America, right? So we'll have to see what they've been able to work on, especially overnight, right? Because SSG, they weren't exactly on the same page yesterday with some of the stuff that was going on. There was a lot of instances where they're kind of getting in their own way, so I'm excited to see if they were able to make any adjustments from our first play day.
I'm curious about it. I also still stand by the fact that Skyscraper in a professional context, it's not the teams haven't figured it out, but it's just a weird map to play by every respect. From the maps that we typically see played in a competitive sense, it's weird to play Sky. It's not nearly as weird to play Kafe, because we see this done over and over and over and over again. So we're heading back to the cold of Moscow. We're getting into Kafe Dostoyevsky, and Space Station and OXG both still have so many things to prove.
It's time to head to my favorite 3-tiered cake, Jacob, Kafe. And we're going to be getting rid of the Nook initially, which I completely agree with. On a map like this, with it's sizable, there's a lot of areas where you can kind of slip through. Nook is going to be that operator that would be nothing but a nuisance if she was allowed to make it to the ban phase.
Anything else on attack that really stands up? I like the Flores ban.
We always do, especially for Kafe. This stands on a lot of utility, and that's really why you want to see Flores played when he is, or taken away if you're going to be starting things off on defense, or just really looking down that path to know that you're more than likely going to have to get there and deal with that later on. And that's Oxygen's situation. Yeah, they're on offense and they're removing Flores, but that also means that SSG isn't going to get it when the sides flip, and they won't have to deal with any of those Rotero drones.
I figure they can get away with it. I think both bans on defense make a lot of sense. I'm just thinking about top floor. I'm thinking you put the Mira inside freezer. If you're worried about a cocktail defense, you're going to use a zombie basically as you'd use multiple different deployable shields. It's going to make things considerably more difficult when attacking the top floor. But I do remember there was a time frame a very long time ago, and I wonder how much it's going to persist these days, where NA teams just said top floor is not something we want to concern ourselves with. We will get kitchen, we will get first floor, second floor, burn it to the ground. We don't want to deal with it because it plays the same way over and over again. You take it from one side or the other, and you didn't have any other options left. But you've got a lot more flexibility on kitchen, and Space Station and OXG are finally getting underway.
I love legacy maps like this because Kafe is a map that, even though it has been changed from where it originally was in year one, right? The changes aren't that big. You really just have some balconies tossed in, I think an extra couple of windows. It's been quite a few years since we had this implemented, but basically the point is that Kafe has always been a utility-driven map. You have to have so much on both sides of the coin in order to accomplish what you want, whether it be map pressure, control of an area, anything. You're going to need something to clear that out, and with the new meta coming into play with these secondary EMPs and everything else in between, this could make for some quite interesting rounds, and it's already starting off. We've got Dream in on the buck, the secondary hard breach for him to assist with some of these walls. Not only that, but we've got the nade stack as well between Sledge and Yana.
OXG very capable of just going for a lateral take. If they would have come from kitchen and just pushed without needing to worry about clearing roamers off the top floor, they've got the option open to them. It's something they've done on this map time and again. But for SSG, they absolutely can tap into the vertical play, but they haven't done much more than just put a Valkyrie up on top floor. Nitro is prepped. If that comes through the skylight, that'll be interesting. Shouldn't have gotten that drone nearly as easily, but that's why he's an aim god. It's also nice to see him back on a roll, especially from that game yesterday, kind of back where I think he's meant to be. There was a little bit of confusion on SSG about exactly who was meant to play what. He's back on a vertical roll on attack. He's roaming on defense. It feels like SSG are going back to a lot of the things that made them a really, really good team in the past. So he'll play up top, and Sweater's already seen if he can't get into a fight early.
Awkward exchange in between the two, hot and cold. I don't know if he knew that Sweater was even around the area, but Sweater holding on to this just to guarantee the air jab gets down, maybe catch some stragglers. Newer's right next to the head of Rampy as he'll be able to make his way back through the hatch and safely into kitchen. SSG have completed their roam game and made it back to the bottom floor.
Still a minute and a half left. Taking plenty of time. You want to work. Can't play through the reinforcement to get the really long angle back downstairs, so instead it'll just be Sledge tearing up top. opening up a couple of different angles and trying to force SSG back into corners. Pretty standard fare for when you bring a sledge for top floor and you didn't take him out early. But as far as Rampy is concerned, I think that's a decent distractionary game. You use the Nitro Cell, doesn't get any kills or even any HP, but you still manage to escape back with your life. You're back on the top floor, and instead you're going to be able to make a push back up, and it's still that exchange. Sweater's on that staircase for a good minute and a half, finally waiting for someone to come to his crosshairs. It's Rampy off the roam, but it still wastes about a minute before SSG managed to lose their first player.
I actually do like this push from Rampy, though. He's attempting to catch Oxygen off guard right at that point where they're about to go for the execute. That's an awkward timing sometimes. You can, I mean, even maybe get the kill, motion up red, get rid of that air jab, you know, really be a thorn in the side of the offense, but it's not going to come to fruition, sadly enough, for Rampy. But it will for Hot and Cold. He's going to take down Sweater and make things quite difficult for OXG. They don't have a foothold on this bottom floor.
Yeah, it looks like SSG have already figured out they're not coming bakery side, so they can put a couple players in there and watch the long angles in case someone comes down the hallway. It also has to come down to where they play inside restaurant, and it's Vert to win that fight. Hot and Cold leaves the safety of the shield and gets blasted in the middle of the doorway. Newers tacks on. Bosco's fighting for his life, but he's going to lose to the long angle. Vertigo has complete control on that side, and Fultz, he's got bakery because he knew no one was pushing from that way, but Freezer is completely open. Vert's got 3 kills to open things up for OXG. That one fell apart at the seams quick.
Yeah, Space Station not on the same page there. A lot of really awkward situations happening over near that VIP side.
That was the first one.
Yeah, well, I mean, that one, you know, I give him the benefit of the doubt. This play by Hot and Cold is really where things start to go awry. Bosco isn't there in time to assist him fully, so he just has to try and pick up the scraps, but that doesn't come, you know, really any way that he would really like. So he has to try and back off and just smoke off the angle instead, but Oxygen are already starting to get those kills. So what are they going to do? Timer's dwindling low. You have to try and snowball that situation, so they're going to continue to propel themselves forward, and they're punished time and time again by that. Just a little off in that timing, and that's what will happen. Space Station do a very bang-up job, I would say, though, in the early round, keeping people alive, still showing some face every once in a while with that little Rampy instance, and really, you know, putting the heat to Oxygen, but I'd say they dealt with it pretty handedly.
Yeah, I'm not even that worried about Rampy losing his life in that situation. It's nice to waste about a good minute and a half from the board, and when by the time he had finally passed on, it almost looks like if you waste that much time effectively, there's not really much cause for concern. So for SSG, you keep 4 players alive into the last minute, and it's just the last little bit of Oxygen's push that really makes things crumble at the seams. We head upstairs. SSG not able to claim kitchen. They're not going to go for a repeat. They'd rather keep their rotation intact, so instead they'll opt for fireplace and reading, and you know how you do this one. You basically defend it as though you're defending half of Cocktail, put plenty of utility upstairs to try and block the execute from up top, but it's a matter of where OXG opt to push. Is it from the hatches? Do they want to work on something through a window? Do they want to push mining? They've got some options here.
Yeah, and this is where things could hit a critical moment for the defense and how they've built this up, especially with this roam game of Bosco coming through, or at least the potential of it, you know, with the operator he is indeed on. So we'll see if they can try and work that around here, get Oryx up some hatches, or potentially, you know, run amok on that bottom floor later into the round. Oxygen really taking their time initially inside of round 1, and it seems like they want to go down a very similar path here in round 2.
Were they working over mining? At least for the next couple of seconds, if they want more intel from that side or just utility disruption, they might push from that way. And there's the frag nade. I was waiting for something from heaven. You're going to knock Rampy out of the equation early this time. It's a little bit more of a problem as you don't have nearly as much top floor presence, but you've already got the Aruni gates up. If anything, the bulletproof is also going to help in this situation, and Fultz does have a quick answer back. We needed Newers to have a strong game today. That was one of the big points that we brought up earlier. If Newers isn't activated, then there's a very big chance that maybe Sweater doesn't get in. Maybe Vert doesn't have the day that he's looking for. He opens up with 3 kills, which is nice, but we need Newers to have a much stronger performance today if they can help it.
Yeah, I mean, what an awkward day for Oxygen yesterday. You know, none of them more than likely happy about how that was going, especially since Dream was their top-rated player playing support. And now, once again, very similar straits. As Oxygen's been punished, they're down 2 players to 1 in favor of Space Station gaming into 4 versus 3. Sweater's now gotten control of Christmas, has some air jabs, I do believe, still to be able to lock up the doors. But remember, this is a mid-floor hold from the defense. And not only that, but it's going quite swimmingly.
Yeti nabs that kill, heads back downstairs, he immediately uses the rest of the Womai disc to make sure that any deployables don't come down white stairs to hit him in the face. but now all of them are about to start hitting in quick succession as OXG's time is beginning to dwindle. They don't have any beads on any players just yet. They've got top control, but not really certain what to do with it. They're only being able to open up these angles now with a couple seconds remaining, and they're going to try to stop the late push if SSG needs to start running and ducking for cover. OXG have a couple options about where to push from, but again, time is their enemy. Dream's got Diffuser. He wants to push in from Haldor and start getting this thing down. They've got top control. They should be able to cover from that side. Yeti's late flank up, grabs another one. Should he get another one here in the midst of this fight? He's going to try. Sweater's looking to cover. At the same time, the plant goes down. He's done a decent job of that, but Dream finally dies on the outset. Sweater, knives from behind. He's only able to get the one as he tries to survive for as long as he can. It's a decent attempt for OXG, but SSG's retake is too powerful.
Well, he won't pull off the Assassin's Creed clutch, but you can say it's code red for Oxygen. Got the Ubisoft references here today, boys and girls. SSG looking feisty in round 2. Really love how we saw that top floor kind of build up, right? You know, you kind of have that little bit of an extension for Rampy. He goes for the aggressive swing over towards Heaven. Gets caught off guard by a frag grenade. But the big piece here is that SSG did such a good job of maintaining control of the entirety of the mid floor. There was not a single area in that entire mid floor that if you landed there, SSG wouldn't have known.
Right.
So it was very well handled in that regard, and that's exactly why they're able to pull one over on Oxygen. They have all that top floor, but I mean, you're just smashing up flooring where no one's existing inside of reading.
That's true. The other part about that is Yeti late flanks up, finds one kill, Hatch drops back to Laundry. Late flanks up again, finds another one because SSG assumed no one's coming back up Lumber, then immediately falls back. It's just that same tried and true formula that nets Yeti 2 and forces OXG back into a corner, and it means Sweater is on an island while trying to defend a post plan after Dream gets that one down. So we're going blow for blow on the first time we see Kafe this stage. It's working out pretty well for OXG, but only if they're able to lock up top floor and I think use it a little bit more effectively.
And we'll have to see. I like the castle pickup here from Hot and Cold. It's going to force SSG to get specifically Foxay on all of these windows. No breaching charges and only frag grenades past that. We know those things are worth their weight in anything more expensive than gold at this point. There's a very minute amount of them in the current meta. So, I mean, they're practically a nuclear device. You just want it at all times, you know, try and get a little bit of peace in there. Another really good option as well, Dream. Love this adjustment here. They're going to be using the two-shot pattern on the X-Kairos, as she does have those 3 separate patterns she can use, and those can get rid of those castle barricades as well. So Foxay isn't going to have to just be dedicated to try and getting rid of those castle barricades on some of these windows and potentially some of the doors inside.
Will come down to the speed of OXG's top floor clear. Yeti is going to hold Pixel for all of these worth. Still using Wilmai. He'll have another disc coming out here in a second, but he still does have the shield, and he's got angles to work through as it'll be up to OXG to figure out his guessing game about where exactly he's meant to sit. Shield comes down, Vert pushes in, sees the ADS, and catches Yeti sitting inside bathroom. Lickety-split,
Nice.
There's the trade. Hot and Cold had the angle all the way from Cocktail, so he makes it work. Yeti's life is definitely not without merit. It removes Vert, who, again, we also were hoping was going to have a massive game. He opened up with 3 kills to start. It's a nice pickup, and it's a good 1-for-1.
SSG slowing the top take, and not only that, but that big kill onto Vertical, just at the price of a Yeti. Foxay will continue to try and play the cocktail windows, but this is just going to allow SSG to work their way back towards this mid-floor hold that worked out so well for them the last time. Oxygen kind of spread thin currently, have some support around these 2 separate entities, though, as Newers will still be upstairs with Dream. I do believe that Sweater does indeed have Foxay around the area to assist him if it comes to that moment. But you can see Space Station's already prepared for the moves that Oxygen could potentially make later into this round. We've got a player at the bottom of red awaiting anyone to try and move down through and break this castle barricade for mining, as well as a lot of answers to the other stairwell over on white.
If you want to go for the flank, that's the same spot Sweater killed Rampy from earlier, and he'll take Fultz in that duel. And the last 3 members of Space Station are now all congested around site. With 45 seconds, OXG are only going to constrict even more like a boa constrictor. Moving in, Sweater's got the angle held. OXG have everything they need, minus the time. It's beginning to dwindle, and Diffuser's still in Dream's pocket. He's got Hatch. He's not able to confirm the kill. He sees it. He's just calling the position out. Someone's got to take care of Bosco before they make the push. The SMG-11 still manages to get one, but there's still trades. Top floor is working out excellently for OXG, and now all they have to do is push in, but Hot and Cold can still watch this angle. Hatch drop is going to be where Dream needs to come from, and Rampy's holding the window, so both members need to get something done. Diffuser's down in the window. Still 2 players to find. Razorbloom takes care of Dream in the midst of the gunfight, and suddenly it's just Vox and Newers. Time to push quickly, and time runs out. They're not able to get both of them in the exact same time. Space Station holds on for dear life and claws that one back.
I'm kind of in Yeti's boat there. His exact words are, I don't know what they're doing. And listen, the timing there on that last bit, that execution, Jacob, they're just not putting the pieces together. This puzzle's just laying broken on the table, and they all don't really want to be the one that starts being like, hey, this is the direction that we have to go. We got to start working on the top left corner piece, right?
It was a good setup,
yeah,
and it just didn't finish well.
They definitely had what was needed in order to try and push themselves into sight, but Bosco especially is the one that made that so unbelievably difficult. No one wanted to be the deciding factor to hop in that window and try and take that fight with him.
Yeah.
Instead, they wanted to try and deal with it through other means, like verticality and just holding the window and hoping that Bosco takes an improper swing and dies. But what does he do? He pre-fires and he kills someone off of the mining window instead.
Right.
You know, it's those little moments that are really big game changers, and Bosco making a play of like the round there for SSG.
Yep, he's the hero, and for SSG, it feels like they should not have gotten away with that one. Little bit of a heist, nice play, especially when you know it's about to be a back and forth affair to win the rounds that you're not supposed to. You will steal anything, and you will go as far as humanly possible with it. So SSG are counting their stars on that one, and hopefully that round does not come back to bite OXG towards the end of this game.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, you could see the desperation, especially in those last moments, right? Habana just hopping into mining window, trying to take any gunfight she can.
I thought Habana was still on the hatch about to drop.
Yeah, like there was just a lot of different things going on there that did not bode well for Oxygen. But the thing is that like it seems like a lot of these early moments of the round, they've got a good headspace. They're doing things properly. A lot of the jobs are getting done. They're breaking up the verticality, making it hard for these anchors to play and try and get some of these plays off. But they're just not having these moments where you're seeing, 2-3 kills and then they have control of sight. There's no swarm from Oxygen.
Heading into a rehost here. As soon as we get everything sorted, we'll jump right back into things. Nice part about there only being 3 rounds, there's not that many things for the observers to take note of, and we can just jump straight in. Hoping that nothing about that round was affected by a tech issue of any kind, because that was still a good one. But
yeah, well, I mean, hard to say, man. Hard to say. I can say this, though. I can guarantee, at least at the current moment, obviously it's going to take some time to, get down the path and see how Oxygen's doing. But Laxing has to be one of the happiest people alive at the current moment. I'm telling you. I mean, coaching for Elevate, having a great time with those guys, kind of doing something new, a refresher. Right. He's not being the one in the chair having to play all the time and do that kind of stuff. He kind of just gets to dictate things and assist them along their way and being a great team. And also, seeing that Oxygen don't look exactly like themselves this stage. I think we can officially say that, at least with these first 2 games, and especially how the second game is going. Space Station obviously dealing with very similar instances, with Yeti coming in and kind of a IGL change in the for them trying to communicate better and try and keep the vibes high. It's so weird for Oxygen, because right when you see this team and just look across the names, you expect so much out of them immediately, but you got to remember there's that little asterisk with Sweater only being here for a second game.
I'm not really looking at this and thinking that OXG are back in form, so to speak, because I think Laxing was such an instrumental pillar of this roster that if they manage to find it again, I do think it's going to take some time. I didn't think this was the kind of thing that would propel them up to championship status immediately. I think some of these things just need a slow burn. Foxy was talking about how the meta is shifting to a point where flank watch isn't something that they're nearly as dedicated toward. It's a mentality I can understand and respect, but all I'm seeing right now is a Space Station team that's up 2-0, and OXG did take a pretty hard loss yesterday. So obviously not set in stone, but the story of OXG will really be set by how this first week goes, and then we'll probably be taking this first impression with us all the way to the major if they even get there.
Yeah, and I think that you can say that Oxygen and Astralis are in very similar boats right now.
You're not kidding.
Yeah, just on like a name-to-name basis, not with the rosters, obviously. Those are two completely different situations. Astralis has been together for a while, and things just aren't coming to fruition. It's very awkward over there right now. I really hope that they bring it back in the next week, but we'll just have to see. But obviously for Oxygen, what we've been talking about, it's just more than likely some growing pains. But, you know, in these next couple of weeks, it's going to happen very fast. We'll see if Oxygen is able to get anything done. This first week, they're probably quite antsy. They're going to have the weekend to go over some VOD, you know, get some good scrims in, and then come back with a clear headspace for week 2.
We're down on Kitchen. Minute gone, no exchanges, maybe a bit of utility traded back out again, and only one roamer in sight. Fultz up in stairs, inside fireplace, looking for the angle. May not be able to find anything immediately, but he's going to get hunted by Vert. Upstairs, footprints aren't going to lead him immediately, but now he's got the idea, but he's already dropped down the hatch, and every SSG member now back down towards site. It's a matter of how quickly OXG can drone through and take as much top floor control as they need. And I am curious, because they did ban Flores, about how much that may end up coming back to bite them a little bit. They're confident they don't need it for vertical play. They've already got Dream and Foxay running the ops for that. I am wondering about how much util still needs to be cleared before they're confident enough in this push, or whether they want to take it from more angles than just from where they did it from before. They pushed Restaurant and Freezer side last time, and it's just a matter of slowly working over the remaining utility they've got here.
Okay, expected angle being produced from Oxygen here. They're going to blow the single panel for Red Hallway, making it a lot easier to try and get an angle down towards the kitchen space, as well as you can actually play it the other way for the player inside of coat check and hold their door. But we're running into, once again, a round looking like what we saw from SSG previously, and they'll get caught off guard, just like we saw the last time. Hot and Cold will actually be the one to bring it back instead of being gunned down inside of VIP. Now it's a tie ball game here going to the last minute.
It's not like SSG are really necessarily are playing for a retake, but they still have the default spot with the shield inside Restaurant, and will need to move on that sooner rather than later before pushing to Freezer, unless Vertical really wants to go balls to the wall, but still too many steps to clear out before working on this. Bosco makes the push and takes Vertical out. Nice play at the same time, making sure that they don't lose a body in that spot, and he can hold on to the power position. Dream can't make this drop at the same time. He's too worried about the crossfire, so it means OXG need to work on their timing and get down here quickly, find a frag or two. That's exactly what Foxay does. Cross map, Bosco still got one. Sweater opens it up with the long angle, turns into a 1v1. It's Bosco against Sweater. Can't buy 50 HP between the two of them. Bosco escapes back upstairs. Diffuser's in a spot where he may be able to watch it. I don't think Sweater can get back to it in time. Bosco gets out of dodge, and SSG have their fourth.
Bosco with, yet again, a fantastic play. We have always revered him as one of the best smoke players in the entire world.
We call him Bosco
the clutchest player that I personally have ever seen in my life. Bosco has that gene in him. He's got that dog in him when it comes to the late rounds. And right there, that's what you want. Bosco finds that isolated 1v1. He knows how dangerous that M590 is in close range. And what's he do? Proactively steps up to the plate. He gets close to the angle. He does not want to give Vertical a chance.
When you're pushing out from that spot, it's always a bit of a risk because you don't want to lose that Restaurant
especially
or that
to the
VIP
garage
player.
right? Like what happens when the guy's holding the garage panel and you just get rolled right when you peek off that shield? It's all those little intricate details that Bosco's able to pick up because he knows the push is going on over here. But I only hear somebody stepping over this. They didn't really have this angle opened up, so this means that I can step up and try and get this kill. And it was probably the biggest play of the round right there. It allows him to stay inside of VIP. It later on allows him access to White Stairs to completely circumnavigate the entire take of Oxygen, because that was their one Rock of Gibraltar, standing over there on White Stairs, just waiting for this clear to happen where they could possibly sneak through the grass and get into sight.
You're not kidding. Tag timeout from OXG comes through after that Bosco play. If they can finish out 3-3 here, they're going to be sitting pretty when we make the defensive swap, but honestly, I think they get away with a 4-2, and it's probably still going to be a dead heat when we swap sides. For OXG, they will take anything they can get. The only time they won anything in this game, again, was that one kitchen round to start things off, and it's been all Space Station since that point. I do think Sweater's doing okay this game. I think Vert is already doing a little bit better than we saw. I'm going to hope yesterday was a bit of an off day for both of them, but, you know, it's only 4 rounds. Time will tell.
Yeah, it feels like you're getting little glimpses, right? It's just not the full story yet. We're still putting that one together. And, you know, I think we're going to have this, at least especially for this initial week, but, you know, maybe going into week 2 and 3 for Oxygen. It's going to be hitting the books and trying to make sure they're all on the same page, you know. Keep the ego suppressed, make sure everybody is ready and willing. And that's a really, really big deal here for OXG. Like I was saying, you get those little glimpses, you know, Sweater doing something crazy, Vert gets some big kills, maybe Newer's popping off a little bit, you know, but it just hasn't been able to come together fully in one round. We're like, wow, that was an amazing play from OXG. But that moment's coming. They have so much talent on this team, and it's nothing but time.
Welcome back to opening week, everybody.
That's how it is, isn't it?
A little bit of a spray for Hot and Cold. Isn't able to get anything, but he will immediately duck back and cover again and probably make a rotate up on the opposite side of the map. And meanwhile, for Newers, wants a bit of a foothold or something he can hold for the moment. Bosco is going to be the first guy he will need to contend with, and he may not know it yet.
Nice.
Foxy almost gets taken off, but the he hangs in there long enough to get the nade kill to Rampy, and Hot and Cold still having an answer, knocking Sweater out of the equation. Nomad's been nice his past couple rounds, but he won't be able to do anything for the remainder of the round. Newer is on to Hot and Cold, at least for a bit. We'll scamper back upstairs, and Yeti's going to keep riding on this spot on Pixel. Gets drone, finally falls back. That's what we were looking for him to do.
Yeah, but the problem right now for Oxygen is that they know that there's threats upstairs already halfway through this round. Remember, this is a reading fireplace hall defense for SSG, so they're going to stand tall when it comes to this top floor, and it's going to be up to Newers to try and dissect this. He has some help from Vertical up top. What a shot onto Folds, as he'll risk it for the biscuit, but it won't pay off. Foxy will at least be able to get the hatch up and start at least building this up to an execution point. That's going to force Bosco away from his original positioning, as he'll scamper off into the 90 hall.
A little bit of a fast, aggressive push all the way from White Stairs back into Piano for 2 defenders. That's where Yeti finds Foxy above the hatch. They still haven't dealt with this problem yet, and he's got Hot and Cold for backup. So it's nice if he can just get another kill back here from the corner, but OXG need to start moving. Do they really risk the Aruni gate? Does he push that and try to find the ping? Instead, he doesn't. Alibi ping reveals he's already begun to move back away. So instead, OXG want to see if they can't still take this laterally, but you've got too many players still upstairs for SSG. This one may not work out. Maybe Vert holds here for a second in case someone from SSG reveals the position. Yeti's already got a beat on him though, but instead Vert swings back around and finds Hot and Cold. So maybe the vertical pressure isn't something they're as worried about. Still wants to find a kill here if he can nab it. Still above the hatch. Won't be able to connect the shot. Yeti is still hanging on for dear life. 15 seconds left, and Dream has enough confidence to get the diffuser down. Newers takes care of the Yeti problem. It all falls to Bosco, and Newers still has the adequate cover. And OXG used that timeout pretty effectively, I'd say.
Terrifying for Oxygen, though. I think SSG played a little bit too active on that top floor, giving Vertical a lot of frags there. I mean, they have control of Christmas, and that's the thing, is like, if they are able to maintain that and just be a thorn in the side of Vertical up there, and especially try and play for a double swing instead of just going for 2 isolated gunfights, I think that they really have a chance. But, you know, Vert, he's one of the best in the game when it comes to fragging, man, and he gets it done over from New Balcony. And now Oxygen, they're finally off the ship. They're off the boat. They're ready to put some rounds on the board. They'll get their first one in the last 4 as SSG will fall here for the first time in 3.
Yeah, and we're not going to see SSG attempt a cocktail defense. I was wondering how much that would persist, because even though it probably was only a stage or 2 or maybe even SI, it still feels like ancient history to think about the last time North America played cocktail. I remember the Parabellum game against Dark Zero. I know that was a thing, but not something that SSG want to take out here.
Yeah.
Heading back downstairs, they won another mining defense, and I seem to remember a time where OXG against SSG, I think in that game, SSG ran a pocket strat on this side, and it actually worked out pretty well. I'm curious if they're able to defend against the same if OXG bring it out.
Yeah, personally, I don't think we're going to see all that much of bar defense anymore. It is by far the worst site on the entirety of Kafe. And really, the whole reason that it was such a staple for so very long is because it forced people into window play, and the defense had such strong utility to try and play off of those swings and things along those lines, right? But it's just not the case anymore. Much easier to clear things out nowadays, even if you want to add some OMI discs and everything else in between. Like, even take Pixel, for instance. If you slap ADSs on the back of that wall, why can't I just toss an Impact EMP at the corner and turn all of those off, and now you get blown up?
Welcome to Impact
Exactly.
EMPs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, it's just, the map is not going to play very similar anymore. And, you know, that's why we're going to see Yeti on more of an aggressive peak and with the Wamai. So he can put those into harder to reach areas where they could potentially catch an Impact EMP or something along those lines. He's going to be stuck into Pixel. They've already gotten White Window, but they've gotten off. And Yeti, I do believe, actually heard that man rappel to the roof, so he's quickly going to work his way towards White Stairs.
As much top floor control as you can get in as little time as it takes. That's exactly what OXG have. Piano control falls to them, should be able to
There's a little charm there. You see that on Fox's gun? Where do you get one of those?
I do believe he streams on some platform.
I think it's Twitch, isn't it?
Is it Twitch? It might be Twitch.
Oh, hopefully the charm works out for him here, because he's got 2 bogeys, at least one very close to him. Obviously a little scared about this hell door, but you got to be worried about that player on white swinging you as well. Hot and Cold actually going to be the one to go down instead.
Still plenty of time. Yeti holding upstairs for as long as he's able to, and faults off the hatch, is able to get Sweater. So any of that top floor control already beginning to dwindle a little bit further and further, but now it seems like Dream and the rest of OXG are still trying to maintain what control they've got and not let the loss of 2 players get them down by too much. At least the sledge is still up, so all these holes will prevent SSG from sitting pretty in corners. But how much time do you still really have left to work with? As far as SSG is concerned, no one on a late rotate. Everyone has gone back downstairs. They're just waiting for an opportunity. There is still one player inside the train car. That's Bosco directly below the hatch. If he goes back to that position where he was before, maybe not. He's looking for exactly where he can sit, and it's being made very difficult by Foxe right now.
Well, I do believe we at least have some good drones set up for Oxygen, as Vertical and Sweater are both still on drones, so at least that's paying off for them, but the remaining members don't have any drones to try and sift through all of this, but it doesn't seem like they really need it at the current moment. Bosco will finally fall at his post, but it seems like SSG's already done the damage. 20 seconds remain, and Oxygen have to hop into sight. They do still have some stragglers around, and Newer's seemingly aware. The air jab going to pick up one of these players, and oh, Yeti slips by, and he's actually going to take the shots as well. Almost kills Newers. Newers just a little better in that instance, but it's going to let Fultz decimate him. It wouldn't have mattered in the first place. You've been decapitated, Newers, and it's Space Station Gaming for the half.
4-2. I figured a 4-2 half and OXG would probably still be okay, but that's exactly what they got. Only 1 round off the timeout, and still taking advantage of disrupting OXG's overall game plan, even minimally, to the point where they were able to walk away with 4. They stole that one with Bosco. Both times they played this side, felt like it was a heart attack for SSG to be able to defend it for as long as they did. But going into the side swap, that one's got to feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, for Oxygen on their offensive half, I think you can kind of just highlight the whole thing by saying they couldn't put the clamps on SSG. There was no real way to slow them down and force it to where they weren't able to play their style with some of these rotations that were coming through and some of these other angles that they were able to find from places like Pillar. And Oxygen just wasn't prepared for that. They were kind of spotty with their focus, and that's where things started to fall off the rails. Luckily enough, though, talked about this a little bit earlier in the day, but it's a good thing to bring up in this instance. Defense, a little bit easier to coordinate rather than offense. Offense, you're always actively in the moment doing that, right? Defense, you're kind of just calming your stuff, doing your thing. The site setup and everything is already, it is what it is. We did that 2 years ago, you know. I'm being a little over the top with it, but rather like last week, we planned all this out. So it's not too big of a deal. Everybody knows where those reinforcements are supposed to go, where those rotation holes are supposed to go, and you can just kind of play out your teammates and try and see if you can get some picks onto SSG.
This is the pocket strat that I was talking about from before. Smokes plus a Ying, and I'm curious how many members of SSG actually start focusing on mining window. We are here for the first pick. You don't see this one come out very often for the first side of a rotation.
Another thing to notate as well, Amaru is actually not banned either, so we could see that eventually work its way in for Space Station.
Remember that one W7M take where GDN is in freeze and just pops right up and plants in Fireplace at that moment? I'd love to see that come to NA. That was a lot of fun.
Anytime I think of the Gara hook, I always just think of Shaiko doing it on Consulate back in the day when he came up through cover.
Back when no one knew how to do it.
Sweater. He's going to take the fight on White Stairs. Little 360 cheeky mechanics here inside a bathroom as he'll take down Fultz and give Oxygen the lead off.
I think if SSG want to make this push towards mining, they need to have a lot more of top floor cleared out than they already do. They need to make sure Pixel isn't a problem, or at least force back to white stairs, and with the possibility of any additional rotations, they need to nullify that as much as they can. They've already forced one player to come back off Cocktail, back into reading side, so there is at least a little bit less pressure up top, but yeah, it'll take a lot more time for SSG to clear some of these defensive positions out, especially if Sweater wants to play this with his life. His flank's basically already been cut off from the window. There's not really an escape route back out. He's trying to survive for as long as he can. Nades and guns all come in at the same time, try to knock him out. It only took a minute and a half, but I think OXG are going to take that.
Oh my God, Yeti with the sixth sense. He knows the rotations coming up red, and he'll take down Newers. They now have the lead. Yes, Fultz is gone, but plenty of time to try and figure this out in a 4 versus 3.
That's all SSG's move here. IQ's got all the utility nullification they probably need all in one package. This is what happens when you can't do it with Flores. You got to do it manually, and that's exactly the take that they're still attempting here.
Yeah, Sledge is probably the most blue-collar man I know with how much work he gets done on these floors.
You ain't kidding. I would hate to, or no, I would actually love to have his upper body strength. Never mind, I wouldn't hate that.
Dude,
That'd
he's probably
be
making
sick.
so much money on overtime.
You think he models on the side?
Yeah, probably, man. I'd love it. I mean, the demolition would be pretty easy for him. I don't know about the reconstruction, though. But SSG, I'm really liking the way they're putting this offense together already, especially how they dealt with the positioning upstairs inside of bathroom. That's what I was talking about by Swarm. You see the coordination of SSG to deal with that player with multiple bodies. But now, speaking of bodies, into the 3 versus 3, 20 seconds remain for Spacestation to get in towards site.
Playing around the bomb chassis, still don't have diffuser in a spot where it can get it planted yet. And vertical, late rotation back up, trying to catch the sledge. If he can find it, isn't able to catch it back around the alibi clone. Is still looking for this pick, and he's not going to make the rotation back yet. Bosco cannot get to a point where he's comfortable to plant until Hot and Cold comes into the fray, and he's also got window cover. 2 seconds left. Case finally starts getting put down. Vertical finds Rampy to at least offer some cover. Hot and Cold needs to go big here, and he grabs 2. Needs to find the last one. Diffuser finally on the ground. It's all up to Foxay. He's got a sliver worth of HP left. Hot and Cold is already gone and ducked for cover, but he'll still get back to Foxay in enough time. That's what they were waiting for. A moment to get Ying in to cover the defuse kit, and as soon as it goes down, Hot and Cold goes huge.
All smiles for Space Station Gaming as Hot and Cold puts everyone to the axe. On Oxygen, a 5-2 split in favor of Space Station, making these defenses look quite easy. Just look at this from Space Station. The nade in, the push from Freezer. We have 2 players, by the way, backing that up. We're not seeing that from Oxygen on their offenses. We're not seeing nearly as a in-depth situation where you're having 3 men deal with one thing. It's a lot more, single kind of moving through the map, off on your own island type of beat. We got Vertical off doing his own thing. Newer's kind of poking and prodding on his own wavelength. And then Sweater's just somewhere in between. He's kind of over-positioned with Fox in them every once in a while, and he'll come back. But that's what we kind of expect, right? He did say he was going to be more in a flex position. I just think that for Oxygen right now, the coordination isn't at its best, at least in the current moment. Whereas for SSG, it's just so solid for them, especially with Yeti and that little sixth sense moment he had for the top of red, taking down Newers. I mean, SSG's looking pretty solid.
I think Rogue is already a pretty good example of if you buddy up and you don't play separate from one another, you're probably going to win when you're on attack. And yet we're still seeing a team on OXG looking a little bit splintered. I didn't think that was a problem they'd be able to solve from day 1 into day 2. Such a fast turnaround time to do that. But I reckon that'll be something that comes up when they start looking to VOD review for next week.
So I know this guy. You might know him. He's a pretty good friend of mine.
Yep.
He's lifted 2 hammers. His name is Nick. You know what I'm talking about?
The Swedish guy, right?
Yeah. So this team that they used to play on called like G2 or something, they had this little rule. They had this little rule. It was called the 5-second rule. You know what the 5-second rule is?
I don't drop my food and eat it in 5 seconds.
Correct. But there's another 5-second rule for Siege, and what that is if you are 5 seconds or more away from a teammate, then you're already in the wrong. You need to be there to be able to support your team and make these plays as a team. And that was one of the key reasons, the key factors that G2 was so dominant for so long. Go back and watch those videos, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Somebody on G2 dies, in less than 5 seconds, somebody's there trying to take that gunfight, get that refrag. They want to keep things equal, and that's what we're seeing from Space Station. They want to try and use their full-on assault to deal with these problems that Oxygen are presenting.
I think if you're isolating kills, it makes it way easier for you to get picked apart, but if only for OXG's sake in this round, they are a little bit more together on defense, especially when you know that when the site take comes in, you want as many people on site as possible. Maybe one up for a late flank if you could nail it, but it seems like SSG have already done a good job of flushing any of those roamers back toward the bottom floor. There's no one up here to really contest. If there is somebody on a late flank, then they're probably going to have to deal with Fultz or Rampy on the back end.
The main component when it comes to the defense is your crosses. You have to be able to play with your teammate and set up these crosses where Space Station aren't allowed into that bottom floor without having to take a gunfight. What a shot from Foxe, actively playing the verticality, making Rampy's job a little harder, and they'll give the kill over because of that. Fultz will go down as well. It looks like the bottom floor might be where Oxygen makes their stand.
Still holding on to VIP for all she is worth. Got to rotate back in. No one's about to make a hatch drop into that hot box either, unless Bosco has a death wish. He's going to stay here for another couple seconds and wait for the smoke to dissipate. So now it is on SSG's shoulders to make the move, but no one from OXG is about to do it for them, so they'll have to force the issue. Bosco tries. Dream gets him. Hatch is now been dropped, and Diffuser has been dropped with it, and Yeti needs to make a play as much as he wants to. He'll get to Sweater. He can't find another flick. No one's there for the trade, but no one has to be, because OXG is simply sitting here and wasting all the time in the universe. No one back on a bar peak, yet he is still in that spot. His position's known. He's a bit stuck, but he manages to find that one, and now we can push through with hot and cold. They're going for a last desperate attempt, but Newers is in here, finds both headshots in Freezer, and that's a nice answer back for Oxygen.
That's what we want from OXG. They're so mechanically gifted, and that's why it's super hard to see those moments where, you know, if there was just an extra body around, then Oxygen more than likely wins the situation. And that just goes to show you, you know, once SSG kicks the Hive's Nest downstairs, what happens? Everybody gets bodied.
Yeah.
So, you know, SSG really not having everything to go for what they were going for either in that execution. It's 5-man up, down low, and even when they get into the 3v5, they're just throwing people at the wall and hoping that it sticks. So you're never really going to have that work out unless Oxygen is like practically senile and they're not going to watch the one hatch that's open. You know, you're asking for a lot. That's what I'm getting at
I don't
here.
think they're going nearly that far.
Yeah, right. Like you're actually asking for like 3 of the Oxygen members to be wearing a monocle so they can't see out of the left-hand side of their face. Like, you know, it's just it's crazy. But you know, for SSG though, there's still a long road ahead of them. They're going to be able to hopefully right some wrongs, and not only that, but I'm going to eat my words from earlier, Jacob.
I think we all are.
I said that I don't think that we were going to see a top floor defense just given the circumstances of the current utility, but we are. Oxygen is going to go for it, and we'll have to see if it's very convincing or not.
So I'll make a prediction, and then we'll see by the end of the round if it actually comes true.
Writing this down.
SSG, probably hatch drop, take both hatches, push for Piano, take from Piano side onto white with pressure at the same time coming from new hatch, probably planting right back in this spot, just
Trash.
to the very left side of the desk.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's called trash wall, my friend.
Trash wall.
Yeah.
I like that one. It gets called everything.
It's
on
cart or
everything.
trash.
It's like,
There's trash. There's like trash bags sitting, and then there's a cart in the corner.
That
so
works. So he's
you know,
planting
pick your poison.
trash. But
Welcome to Rainbow Six Siege. Everybody calls it different things.
Exactly what I said happened. If they end up pushing west side to east side, everyone on OXG sits east side for the remainder of this round, holding these long angles. That may very well be how this one goes, because spoiler, that's usually how this round plays out on this side anyway.
Is it? That's crazy. Especially when they don't have a buck and they really can't influence Cocktail. It just seems like the right decision.
Are you proud of me? I did my research.
I'm so proud of you, my friend. I'm so
Thanks,
proud
Dad.
of you. And you know, I'm more proud of Oxygen that they're putting some rounds on the board, at least on the defensive end. I want to see it continue on, but it seems like Fultz wants to stop them dead in their tracks. He'll claim Vertical's life and give SSG the advantage.
A little bit of a fallback plan still from Freezer for 2 players, except for the bathroom
What
player.
a
Whoever's in
nade.
there is not going to be leaving, and neither will Foxe from that spot. Sweater has an answer, so at least you're taking out Yano. It's nice to see Yeti playing on something a little bit more aggressive. That is a wonderful sight to see where it works. If only because the bathroom player can make the rotation back to Pixel, still trying to make something happen there, but they've got top. At least as far as the stairs themselves are concerned, I would be worried about a flank if I were SSG. Someone could definitely still make that happen on this OXG squad, but for the moment, no one's making the push.
Well, they've always been quite solid when it comes to their info game. Yeti might have thrown a spanner in the works, at least for the time being, but at minimum, there should be a camera around Red. I say at minimum because we did see what happened on Border yesterday with Auction, that big flank through security where you are always going to have a camera, and there was just nothing there for Oxygen. So just remember, those flank watch players and those players that put up those flank watch drones are so very important, especially when it comes to pro play. You never want somebody with a skill like Sweater sneaking in behind you. They're going to be able to get Freezer open here, as well as this timer continue to eat at SSG. If this goes awry early on, Oxygen could just skate by.
It's weird that Sweater just kind of sits there through the drone. He wants to make sure he doesn't die to someone on that angle, and instead he'll just eat the conch nade and move all the way back toward a different part of the site. But here comes that approach. Again, like we said, west to east, SSG contested inside Cocktail, almost in the humidor. There's the push into Trash, attempting to plant. Bosco's got the angle. There's also Rampy up top holding it, so no one from Freezer can come and swing onto him. If someone tries, they're gonna die, and there's nothing OXG can do to stop the plant from that angle. Bosco goes big. Dream still looking for a couple kills, trying to push players back. He's the only one still remaining. A 3v1. He doesn't have the chance here, and instead he'll work his way into the most open site that has ever been known to man. He's got to hunt for kills. It won't happen here. OXG try and fail. SSG are going on match point.
Yeah, that as soon as that setup, as soon as we saw the man on Skylight, you could have just, anybody could have just said the round's over.
Yeah.
There's nothing
you have three
that you're
people
going to do.
inside, like Cigar, and then 3 people on the site, and there's a 4th dude no one knows about on the Skylight.
Yep, and he's got the best angle on the trash plant known to mankind. Like you do not beat that angle ever. You know, it's a very rare circumstance where you end up losing that gunfight. Really, the only thing that Auction could have answered with there is info on the trash plant and just getting Sweater to kill him via his positioning over towards White. But if you remember, SSG dislodged him earlier on with that Zofia.
Yeah.
So, you know, they had a lot of control over the situation there. I just think it was a beautiful round from Space Station because, especially for Bosco, he's got to slip through their site setup to get there. People are holding angles from Freezer, from Cocktail, all that in between, right?
Yeah.
There's so many different places to worry about around there, and SSG dealt with it very swimmingly.
They had it down to a T, and they put themselves on match point, looking to make up for the loss to the Sonics yesterday. Getting back to a 500 record. 1 win, 1 loss on a week would be great if you can nail it. And OXG, their chances of starting strong in the gutter, cannot walk away with a full game's worth of points anymore. Space Station have at least guaranteed themselves 1. So the fight back to the November Major for Space Station is already looking a lot more likely.
My time has come. I'm a happy man.
What happened?
The R4C and Fultz all in one package. One of my favorite, not only operators, but favorite human beings to watch play Rainbow Six Siege.
You're not kidding.
Fultz is just immaculate when it comes to Rainbow Six. And he's always been that way. His Challenger League play especially, you should have seen the demon that was his Ash. And Bosco's going to go down vertical, proving that his name means just exactly that. You better be watching for those flyouts on the windows, otherwise you're going to be asking for those rounds back later on down the line. But fortunately enough for SSG, they do have some room for error.
He's vertical. He either goes up or down.
No side to side.
He went up to then go down and found the frag. Down goes Bosco, only losing, you know, just your hard breach, not a big deal. SSG should be fine. That's actually, honestly, a really big deal. You don't want to lose that.
Yeah, especially because Rampy doesn't have that secondary hard breach in either for the Bucks. So you no longer have anything minus verticality you can produce. You know, you can go underneath and use Skeleton Key as well that way, or just use those breaching charges up top to try and make things a little bit more difficult for Oxygen inside of sight. But you can see that SSG is still in recoil mode. They're like, all right, what do we do? We've lost our Bosco. We don't have hard breach. What's our next step here? And about 1:30 after this drone kind of phase goes through, then we'll more than likely see this go off. Foxe is constantly marking this gentleman, but he's not going to use the nitro just yet. Can bring the cardiac sensor back out. Foxe to this day is still one of the best pulses when it comes to situations like this. And my God, not only did he get the Finka, the only op capable of healing up the offense, but he knocked Fultz to a sliver's worth of HP. Yeti with a gorgeous shot, but Dream, the M590, the boomstick will take him down. Fultz dead to rights, but he'll at least get one. Oh my God, Fultz, you disgusting man. Put some respect on his name for that last play. We play down to the wire in this house.
Man, he really whipped out the R4C and said, I'm going to put on a show. And he did. 1 HP, 2 players left, doesn't matter. Still got his double. Oh boy. We want the R4C glory days to come back, and we certainly got a first look at it. The best part about this round, by the way, somebody was up in mini bar. Vert obviously gets the spawn kill or the run out kill here, but then someone goes right back up into that mini bar spot. If OXG's defense wasn't as good as it was, then we probably need to see someone go for that late flank, immediately come right back down to reading. OXG had an insurance policy in that round. If this defense did not go as well as it did, somebody could come back and attempt to save it. I want to say it was Sweater who was the one playing upstairs. Didn't need to use him in the end. And it was a beautiful overall round from OXG. It was a valiant attempt from SSG to end things right then and there, but looks like OXG have some life still.
Yeah, I love the one-off play, and I love the fact that they backed it up with a big red button, right? Like, hey, you know, if things do go wrong, we'll smack this and Sweater tries to kill people.
Yep.
So always having that backup plan is a good thing, and, you know, trying to maintain map control as well, you know, keeping that player up top inside of Christmas, keeping that threat there that can rotate down red, hop over bar, influence a top floor engagement.
Yeah.
So many different options with a player in, you know, in there. So Space Station still trying to get this dub over Oxygen, but they're making it quite difficult along the way.
Still match point for Space Station. OXG need 2 more for a forced overtime.
Ooh. Gonna have the Thatcher work their way in. We're also gonna have the Doke for Yeti, so this is gonna assist a heck of a lot in the clear. And a quick thing about the Logic Bomb, it got changed recently.
It did.
The Logic Bomb actually now makes it to where no one, including the people that are dead on your team, get any info off of cameras. She is a complete lockout of your info system. So pretty incredible op now, especially since she has that DMR that you can use for soft destruction in a lot of different instances. And she's got the EMPs as well to assist with getting walls open. Hot and Cold's gonna go down though, and that's gonna get rid of some of the stronger EMPs in today's current meta.
Yeah, it's a good thing we were talking about Dokubi because now she's the only one who's actually able to make use of that. But Fultz has already gotten downstairs looking for a kill or two, but there's somebody hiding inside the coke closet. It's Sweater up top, and he'll take Fultz down before he's able to do anything. OXG deciding to pull more of the stops out, and here's Yeti. Again, he's going isolated, but he's still making a push towards site similar to Fultz, except he's actually in at this point. Takes Newers out with a beautifully placed headshot, and he's got enough space for Bosco to come and at least give it a shot, but Yeti is instead doing all the work by himself. There might be a chance here for Bosco to get a plant down, but it depends on how this fight cross-map goes.
Well, Fox 8, a little bit of influence here from Mining, but look at the time right now. It's a 3 versus 3, but we've got half a round remaining, Jacob. Fighting fire with fire as Oxygen is to continue to try and spin this round up, but SSG's found some area, at least in arm's length point of view, and that'll allow them to start breaking up some flooring and try and play this through on a different angle. Dream is going to break up the flooring here for Train, which is going to allow him to see down into prep. Vertical's got a nice angle here off the bomb chassis, but SSG more than likely aware that there will be another player in here. Not only that, but Yeti still has that Logic Bomb that he's going to be using right now.
Yeah, they've swapped spots. OXG have gone upstairs while SSG are on site, and they know that if they get a plant down, they may not be able to get out or defend it for any length of time because OXG went back upstairs. Foxy will retain their vertical position. Dream has at least come back down to make things a little bit easier, but if OXG can stop this plant, it'll prevent SSG from getting any more leverage. Here comes Rampy on the cross, can at least make it a 2v2. 30 seconds to go. Still time for Bosco to get this down, but they have not dealt with the vertical, and Foxy is going to retain it for as long as he can. Vertical on site, inside freezer, a quick 2-piece to at least give OXG the full 12 in this one.
Oh, Rampy's looking a little shaky there inside of that 2v3. Not able to really make the decision that he wanted. Chooses that frag grenade, backs back into a lineup as well, and immediately gets taken down. Yeti set them up for victory there. I love how Oxygen's able to reclaim that round, though. Great adjustment back upstairs to try and assist that player, play it deep on that basement floor, and try and sneak that smoke in to prevent the plant. Keeping that utility safe, that's what Smoke's doing there. Don't try and over-aggress. You're just going to lose that body, and you're going to lose the round because of it.
They gave it their all. They genuinely did. Like one little slight moment of indecisiveness from Rampy, and we probably look at a
Two.
You know,
Fultz with that earlier thing as well inside of coach check. If he gets that kill on the coach check player, completely different ballgame.
What? It's minuscule. It's a game of inches. Welcome back to Rainbow Six. We see shooters go this way all the time, but at least for SSG, they know they had a good thing and they let it slip just by a hair. So they will take their tack time out and figure out. They just need the one round to lock this thing away, confirm it. They've already got 1 point secured. There is the safety of overtime if it really does come down to it, but Space Station want to end this bad boy as fast as they can. it's been a really, really good effort, but as soon as they hit match point, OXG feels like they've hit another gear we didn't know they had yet.
Yeah, I think at least for, not the last round, but the ones where we started seeing Oxygen be a lot more successful, their play around the timer and using their utility to try and delay that whilst also like, here's a body, here's a body, we'll trade, here's a body, and just making it to where it's very difficult for SSG to try and pick up some of these rounds. You know, it's been fantastic. I really love how they're building up this defense, especially in the last round, because I think that not only did they have that timer abuse, but they were willing to take SSG into gunfights early and keep things equal. It was fantastically done, because what that forces SSG into doing is trying to work an entire map with 3 people.
Yeah.
And that is a lot to do, a lot to handle, especially if just say, you know, those other 2 people that died didn't have their drone set up. So maybe now you have to have a drone somewhere else, or you need a drone to clear out the site or something, and you no longer have access to that. There's a lot of different complications in how these situations can build up, and a lot of them are unforeseen to the naked eye. You really got to sit there and think about it and be like, oh man, this is a really crappy situation for Space Station.
Back into mining for OXG for the last defensive regulation. Space Station not bringing any operators conducive to a fast push. If anything, they've got a couple smokes on Twitch, but they've brought gunning operators, and Fultz is still on Ash R4C. Looking to make the most of a gun we already know he's comfortable with. He's looking to go huge. And if he does, it'll be SSG finally locking away 3 points on this opening week, the last game of the opening week of Stage 3.
A man after my own heart with this Ash pick. I'm just going to keep saying it, at least for this game.
I miss the R4C.
I'm just happy that we're back to a meta where everybody doesn't have 100 bullets and can just hound me down when I run out of, you know, bullets in a 30-round magazine.
I don't think we saw Finko once today.
Well, we've seen her. We've seen her.
Today?
For sure. Yes, absolutely.
Did I miss that?
You did. I think Sweater was playing. I think we've seen it in this game, and I believe we also saw it last game as well. We've been seeing a couple of different instances.
There's
SSG. What are we doing here, boys and girls? This is not how this should go. We already had this story, and it ended up with Vertical getting a kill and getting back inside. Not a single person is worried about Oxygen hopping out windows. I mean, you're just dead wrong, my friend. You got to have somebody at least watching it, or a Claymore to at least trade the first guy. That's just terrible mismanagement from Space Station.
It's a real problem. You've lost some vertical pressure, and you've also lost your lone hard breach.
That's overtime.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like, Space Station, you got a minute left. You got 2 bodies, and you have no way to manage all of this. Oxygen have to give up this round, otherwise Space Station's headed into OT and getting docked a point if they win.
Suddenly, one little play turns into the biggest mistake they've possibly could have made. It's just a fragging game now. You've got an Ash, you've got a Twitch. Might as well see how many people you can take down to you with the Grave. Only 45 seconds to go. You can still retrieve Diffuser, but you do not have enough people if you're Space Station to watch these crosses in the estimation of a plan, so you might as well just do your best and see who you can take down before the end. For Hot and Cold, one through Pillar, can't come in. Sweater makes the rotation, gets him, and then finds and transitions right back to Fultz as he vaults through the window. We're going to overtime between OXG and SSG.
These defenses coming together now for Oxygen, and not only that, but the frag power. I really don't want to talk too much about that last round because I think it's a terrible example of Space Station gaming. I think the only thing that you can really harp on them for is exactly what I said earlier.
Put a Claymore there.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. You disgustingly mismanaged that situation. That should never happen. Ever. That window, Jacob, is like the window for Black Topside. That's the first thing that you should be dealing with. You know, that and like when you're rappelling up, obviously the Christmas window. Like those are the 2 big ones that everyone's really antsy about. You know, Ticket, we see it. Same thing with Vertical, right? Every once in a while. But those 2 windows are like the hot spots that you see regularly on that side. It's almost like SSG got killed by Vertical and they're like, it's a one-off. They'll never do it again.
Genuinely lulled them into a false sense of security.
Yeah. And then obviously Newers, being the little rat that he is, he knows it's last round and he goes, you know what would be absolutely hilarious? If I jumped out a red window because they're never going to guess it. It's last round. Why would I do that? I would just be killing myself,
wouldn't I?
It's
that SpongeBob meme. Want to see me run out? Want to see me do it again?
Exactly.
Exact thing that OXG were able to do. 3 kills on 2 combined runouts over 2 rounds, and it now forces SSG to defend for only 2 points as opposed to the full 3. So we head downstairs. Kitchen site first. OXG defended this one really well. But to start with,
we're just starting. SSG, look for your windows. What is happening here?
I don't get
How is this happening? Everyone's dying outside the building.
Oh, no.
Vertical's going to go. No, okay, he's going to throw one outside. Thank God. I thought he was going to swing that again and just ice another Space Station member.
It's like Space Station hit match point and suddenly they all became possessed.
Yeah, like, well, it's almost like they're like, you have to stay in this building and you're not allowed to play the windows, which is like half of Kafe.
Yeah.
Like, it's not working out for him at all. And the big problem now is that not only is Rampy dead, he's Sledge. He's the man with all the soft destruction. Fortunately enough, they still have Houghton, but Houghton's just going to trade out Bosco, who's now dead. But Houghton's just so damn good at the video game, does it really matter at the end of the day? He's going to equalize. Not only that, he's taking control of VIP.
He's managed to bring things back into an even man count, but will it last for long? He does have VIP control. Sweater is going to see if he can't knock him off the angle if he exposes himself by only a pixel. That's all Sweater needs. We saw his reputation built up over the past couple of stages. He won't get distracted by this, but he can't be defended by the Aruna Gate for the next several seconds. Hot and Cold will still hold the long angle. You're not able to push into coat check just yet, so Fultz is not taking this position until he's confident they can either flush him out or work on a different part of the site. But Yeti's upstairs. He'll grab Foxley on the late rotate, and now all you've got left is Newers. As Sweater finally dies to that coat check pinch. He's got 3 kills, he has a 1.5, and he is resistant to flashes if he's able to use it, but I think he's about to get pounced on here.
Yeah, Hot and Cold ripping the world out of the hands of Oxygen. Answering that situation appropriately as well. That's not even on Oxygen. They tried to do the right thing, but Hot and Cold outclassed them in that situation, and now SSG is going to potentially take a round because of it, but not if Newers has anything to say about it. He's got the ping on the last location as well. Hot and Cold sticks it, but he doesn't know where Newers is. He's playing off the pillar, and Newers with the triple! Oh my God! What a menace! He'll take down Space Station after Hot and Cold dices up the defense. Newers left all alone inside of sight. That's all you need if you want a dub for Oxygen.
That's a roller coaster. Vert opens things up. We think the SSG's in the gutter. Hot and Cold with the 2K. We think the momentum is shifted again. Newers 3 kills, lack of coordination from Space Station to lock down the one guy remaining in the bomb site, and OXG have somehow clawed this lead back.
I think the only frustrating bit there for SSG in that instance, because it's like that Hot and Cold moment, right? Newers outclassing his opponents, but the big thing is with that plant spot, Jacob, not only do you have verticality that you can play for the offense, but you can also go play by freezer because I have that rotation there, that single panel.
Yeah.
So, you know, like those little instances where SSG could change things up and just play someone in a slightly different position that's on a deeper cut instead of just playing for the play over towards Kitchen. There's a lot of those moments where just those little game changers could make the difference. A key thing though is you know, obviously he is Warden. You don't know if he has that nitro cell there, so that's more than likely why we saw Space Station trying to get so aggressive to his play in Kitchen, because if he makes it to the triple wall, your planner's now dead. There's no way you're going to stop that unless you get that nice shot on that clay pigeon nitro cell flying through the air. So, you know, benefit of the doubt a little bit to Space Station, but my God, Newers 12, 7, and 4. An inspiration for the masses for sure.
4 unanswered rounds for OXG. SSG hit match point, and everything else since then has gone the way of the black and green. This one is a comeback for the ages if OXG are able to stick the landing. And SSG, they did have a good half on defense, but they need to really, really lock this one in, and that is a phenomenal start. Might as well give them a taste of their own medicine a little bit before Newers can really even get in the building. He will get the trade, but there's Sweater to answer back almost immediately. He figures Hot and Cold isn't about to make the full rotation back. He doesn't, and he loses his life in the process.
That is war games of the mind right there. Just the prediction, knowing Hot and Cold would potentially want to be greedy. And he guns him down on the red staircase vertical to follow it up onto Bosco as well. Rampy. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and the ramp dog has vertical. It's a 3 versus 3. We're only a minute in. Rampy! Oh my God, with the Kobe fade. He'll decapitate Sweater and Oxygen. They might not make it out of this one.
This whole round's descended into chaos. We had 5 players die in the first minute and 10 seconds of this thing, and we still have 2 members of OXG left that have to worry about pushing back towards site. This one has fallen to hell in a handbasket.
And all of a sudden, Spacestation find themselves in control. They opened it up with that kill on Newers to start things off. OXG go blow for blow, and now we find ourselves here.
What a roller coaster of emotions we've had in this last set of 5 here, Jacob. It feels like this round has completely switched up moods, right? It looks like I'm watching Split, really, to me. How many personalities we're getting out of this damn thing. Foxe thinks he might have an opponent, and he is for sure right. Rampy on the other end of things. Looks like there might be one around White as well, but he's got that supporting cast member and Yeti over inside of Coach Check. Oh, a very damning situation for Rampy. He's been discovered. Oh, an impact out, bouncing back and forth. Can't find his mark, but neither can his opponent. Ooh. And he's going to get Dream. A triple kill for Rampy. Foxe can't help from his other position as he was trying to handle some of the other players from Spacestation through verticality. But now he has to try and come down Brown stairs, and Yeti is going to pick it up. It's going to take us all 15 for SSG and Oxygen.
They finally stopped the bleeding, but at what cost? They have to go insane within the first minute to go trade for trade with OXG at the start of that round. That is one of the sickest kills you're probably ever going to see, if only because Prediction Game was on point. Rampy's roam produces 3 kills, or I think his roam produces 2. He finds another one when he then again lurks back off site, pushes to Restaurant, and is the difference maker for Spacestation in that round. He had an off game to start things off. He's gotten himself 3 more. He's back to nearly 500 on his kill count. Everyone is locked dead with each other, and for the love of God, someone win this game.
And this is crazy. This feels like, we're full on, in the arena. They've lowered the cage for Hell in a Cell, and they've locked everyone in.
The crowd's going insane.
You're not allowed to leave. Like, you have to sit here and continually smash heads, throw fists, and see which one of you can actually win this out. There's times like this where I wish we had win by 2 in OT.
Oh my God.
It's just,
it would never end.
Dude, but I'm here for it. This is absolutely electric. These are the moments that I live for when it comes to Rainbow Six. And I mean, a big component of this being the fact that we have had such a meta change where things aren't as locked down. We're having a lot more of like a mid-round aggression and making it to where these, minute 15 marks are a 3v3 or a 2v4 and stuff like that. It's just such an exciting game to watch at the current moment.
Oxygen have chosen to end this bad boy on mining. Decent win rate for them so far. SSG have also tried a couple different strats, and OXG managed to lock it down last time they played it, so if only for recency bias, it might go in their favor. They just need one more. They need to lock this down, but it looks like SSG are prepping for something a bit more explosive. Rampy is primed and waiting for a moment to burst the window open, and no one's really made a move yet. I think we're about to see something crazy happen. They want to flush out Bathroom. If they can get this started, it's going to be a phenomenal opening for SSG to start things off.
Really love this clear from Space Station, getting everything set up with the Sledge and the Habana. Get the window, toss the stuns to clear ADS, is tossing it immediately to get rid of shield or player inside of the Bathroom. Great order of business from Space Station, and that'll be our opener at a minimum, but they haven't found an Oxygen member just yet. And speaking of them, Sweater is in such an awkward situation right now, but he's put himself here on purpose. This is a one-off play, and he's going to give it over to Fultz. Fultz is aware this is the last round, and Oxygen have been trying everything they can to get in their way. Why wouldn't he try and man the hatch here on red?
Man, if he hits that, there's a high chance OXG actually walk away with this one, but now it looks a lot more dire. May only be one player, but you need everyone alive for these last couple of seconds. Seems like they've fallen back to site, or they're just playing basic offside positions for the moment. OXG do have the ability to rotate to site in the event SSG push this quickly, but it's going to come down to SSG's overall time management. Do they know where these roamers are placed, and are they confident enough in the push before they make it?
They have so many bodies, and with a minute remaining, they should be able to break up a majority of this flooring upstairs, making mining pretty easy to try and play into. Oxygen is going to have to try and manage these crosses, but not only that, with only one magnified gun on the defense. Sweater being taken down means Fox is the only one that can take some of these longer angles, unless obviously we see some amazing mechanics, but that's to be expected from the likes of Vertical and Newers. Dream's going to be playing this one close to the chest off of sight with Mute and that SMG-11. SSG have not propelled themselves forward just yet, but you can see an amalgamation of people here inside of Christmas as they're rearing to go.
This one's going to be interesting. If we see Wamai make the late flank back up, but Yeti's the first kill back upstairs, he's not going to be able to use the vertical presence anymore. Foxay's made this late rotate work out. SSG still retain man count, but Newers is down here trying to be the difference maker. Bosco's going for the plant, punched open, not able to get into position before it goes down. 3v3 on the post plant, still kills going back and forth. We're still locked in a dead heat. Bosco is going to play around the bomb chassis. He's got a power spot. Both members of OXG might come right into his crosshairs if he's not careful. Yeti can take down Newers. It just falls onto Foxay to defend this thing for as long as he can, but there's a hatch drop, there's a prone, and SSG win the cage match in Russia.
A hell of a game from Space Station Gaming, tested to their absolute limits. The pressure on in round 14, and that pressure, well, it creates diamonds for SSG as they get their very first dub here in Stage 3. But not only that, taking the first dub away from Oxygen here in Stage 3. Oxygen now in the same camp as Astralis at 0-2.
They at least get 1 point out of the ordeal, and it was an ordeal, but oh my God, does it feel good for SSG to come out of what was an insane offseason, lose their first game, and at the very least manage to end this one off on a high note. It took a long time. It took very nearly throwing away a 3-round lead on match point to get them to this stage, but they finally done it. There's a lot of questions still for OXG, but I think because we went the full 15, there are considerably less than we had at the start of this game.
And not only that, but for both of these teams, you have to be happy as a clam for them, because what this is right here is this is all the VOD review that they get to do for the weekend. Every single one of these rounds has a lesson for both of these teams, and they're going to be able to decipher that before next week. It wasn't a trounce from SSG, it wasn't a trounce from Oxygen. Everybody got to get their blow in and learn something about the team that they're playing with now, because I mean, even though they've both switched one piece, that is a shockwave through an entire team, especially with those little instances where maybe somebody's not doing something that your previous player was.
That's crazy. I didn't think making a switch over from one desk to the next was going to result in that haywire. We got it done. They got it done. SSG have to be feeling immensely proud of themselves, especially for all the flack I think they've taken from their fans trying to figure out what their formula is going to look like with Yeti coming onto the team. How much of that do you think came down to Yeti specifically having, I'm sure he had a lot of impact there, and I think for SSG, they did a phenomenal job of finally adjusting to the pressure.
You know, with Yeti, I think Xander has always been a maintainer of the vibes. I've known him since Broken Alliance Yeti back in the day on Xbox. We were actually going to be on a team together when I switched over to PC.
Oh, that was the name of the team.
Yeah, Broken Alliance on Xbox is a team that he played with a bunch of different people, and he used to smoke me all the time in scrims. But he's a purveyor of the vibes, and the other thing is he's not scared to get his hands dirty. He's going to get in there and he's going to get that damn job done. And that's what I've always respected so much about Yeti, is he's somebody that you can bring in to practically any team, and he's going to make something happen. And we're seeing it here for SSG. 10-10, yes, but he was in some of the most hard-fought fights that we've saw inside of that entire matchup. The key factor one, like you were talking about earlier, that double rotation up white stairs.
Yup.
You got to commend him
Went right
on
back
that.
and did it twice. Yep. He went insane. He got his hands dirty, and SSG got the dub. It took forever, but they finally did it. We'll come back on the desk. I'm going to flit back over there for a second and wrap up the day. But Sam, thanks for the cast.
Of course, buddy.
Really appreciate it. We got that one knocked out, and we'll be right back after a very short break. Don't go anywhere.
I'm sipping 15, kept a weapon on me. Flow make digits, I'm on my business. Stack chicken like what it's gon' be. Crew in the cut, hey, you want us red run when I tell a peace. Love is love. Love is love. Adios. Bendo with the switch again. Boy deliver like he heffing. Core with digits, give him estimates. Summer sauce for my Benjamins. I got what you need, baby. Skirt the Chevy, make a scene, baby. LABB been the team, baby. Big Papa, word the G, baby. Look, lab till I'm finished. Had a handful of lemons through the hand. Got a bag, now the hands in the business. For my hand, it's a ticket. Talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I've been playing with the minutes that they been shoulda gave. And I'm flipping every digit that they been shoulda paid. Had to find a way to get it. Know the season what you made. If I ever wanna dip, then I'm brink with the blade. And I'm brinking a blink on the brink of some dumb shit. Watch how I move, cause I know the brink's coming. Watch for the blues, cause I know that they dumping. Nothing in my view, so it's hush on discussion. Hush on discussions, you know what you need to. I keep it in the fam to let you know that I don't need you. Y'all cats be see-through, head not the piece. You been king, I'm regal, got it in my abisu. Came through tripping Aquafina, I'm sipping 15, kept a weapon on me. Flow make digits, I'm on my business. Stack chicken like what it's gon' be. Crew in the cut, hey, you want us red run when I tell a peace. Love is love. Love is love. Hold up with it, got my back on Pippin. I'm back in kitchens with the tray. Windows tinted like how black my skin is. Scoop the shorty in it from a J. Swish, she got vision just like any women giving me the kitten. Way before the riches, nothing more to mention. I could light a block up high the aura glisten. Foreign on my body, that's a Gora linen. I came through tripping Aquafina, I'm sipping 15, kept a weapon on me. Flow make digits, I'm on my business. Stack chicken like what it's gon' be. Crew in the cut, hey, you want us red run when I tell a peace. Love is love. Love is love. Adios. Love is love. Love is love. Adios. Love is love. Love is love. Adios.
Like, ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ayy, coming down like precipitation. I ain't never met a limitation. Hate applying my elimination. Gotta go to Google for the
Welcome back to the Rainbow Six North American League Analyst Desk. Your host, Doa, with you. Jacob, Jesse as well. One more time as we close out the day. And guess what? Special treat for you, because over in Vegas, we have none other than the coach for Spacestation, Lycan, standing by to chat with us a little bit. Hey, congrats on the win today. It was a close one. No doubt you're sweating back there. You got the W, though. I'm curious, how's it been integrating Yeti into the squad?
It's been great. He fits in really well with like what I thought our role should be. I do think Dex was like a really good fit personality-wise, but I think in the end it really came down to I wanted to like untangle Hot and Cold and Fultz's roles, and it didn't make sense to put like a young gun like Dex on flank watch. So it was unfortunate, but I think Yeti's been perfect for us, brings really good energy every game. He knows how to do all the takes because he played very well on Sonics as well. So he just like fit in really well, and we're enjoying it so far.
Lycan, you've mentioned the energy that Yeti brings to the team. What was the energy and what were the vibes like on the squad after you had pushed it to match point that game and then lost back-to-back rounds? Did you feel like things were slipping there, or was the team able to keep it together after all that pressure?
Oh yeah, I think we were letting it slip a little bit. I think we're still trying to learn like as a team how to transition scrim like wins into match wins. Just people play like a little bit different in scrims than they do matches, so you don't always get like 100% like a good eye on like what you're actually going to look like when you play in these matches. And I think, well, for one, I think Sonics played really good yesterday, and I think today we were just letting little things like that, like both the bakery rounds that came down, we like just didn't play them well and let them like win those rounds. So I think once we kind of like fix those issues, like the communication and the synergy, it'll be really good for us.
Obviously, the loss yesterday is also something I wanted to touch on. Seeing the win today, I'm sure, has to feel fantastic. But if you had to identify something that didn't quite click yesterday that did click today, is there anything that fits that category for you?
I think yesterday we had a really good talk about pacing. I thought Sonics played really good tempo against us. And we weren't really adjusting to the fact that they were giving us a lot of room and kind of didn't do enough with it. And they kind of like stalled out a lot of rounds and made our end round basically more of like a panic execute than like something where we feel like we're in control. So that's something that we tried to really kind of bring in today, which I thought was going well, except the biggest challenge is like when you get a team like Sonics and then you have to play a team like OXG, it's hard to go from like those two teams back to back because they play like their style very differently. And you could see like obviously we were getting some like picks and stuff like that we need to work on. But other than that, I thought we did really good trying to match the tempo today compared to yesterday.
All right, so I got one more question for you before we let you go. So we don't get to talk to coaches as much, so it's a unique opportunity to ask some questions that only coaches can answer. So in light of that, you go into a match, a big match, Yeti against his former team yesterday, it ends up being a loss. You come into today, Oxygen ends up being a really tough match. How do you manage the emotions on the team? How do you keep your players on track and make sure they're in the best position mentally to get the win?
Yeah, I think it's not just like one thing you do like the night after you lose. It's kind of like it's an atmosphere that you build like every day in practice, like when you're like struggling with like a new setup or new strat or whatever, and you dry run in and you think it's going to work and then people get frustrated because it's not working. It's kind of like you're able to build it as a coach more than just like after a loss. So you just kind of like remind them like, hey, these are the things that we're working on. We didn't do it right, and that's why it didn't work. So if we make sure we like hammer these things down, the next time it won't happen to us. And like, just it's kind of like keep it business, I guess I would say, but like it's a lot more than that.
All right, cool. Thanks for chatting about the nuts and bolts a little bit with the coaching, with the matches this week. Congrats on the win today, and good luck with the scrims going into week 2.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No worries. Have a good one. All right, so there's Lycan from Spacestation Gaming. 8-7 victory over Oxygen today, as tight as it gets. But man, that was a thrilling one. That was easily, I think, my favorite game of the week.
Yep, I think that's definitely got to take it. And what a way, what a position to put it, right here at the end of week number 1 of stage 3. We've got our stats in front of us, and it's nice to see the new kid on top. Yeti, 15-13, really did pop off.
Rookie of the year.
Yeah. Rookie of the year.
Stop it.
Okay. No, he really did like contribute in so many different rounds, right? It felt like he was always kind of there supporting with the rest of the squad. I think there were a couple more pop-off plays from the other side of things. Newers had a few rounds where he just went explosive, right? He didn't look like he was able to be shut down at all, but unfortunately, he had more of those rounds where he just wasn't so much in the server, and that's ultimately what it comes down to, right? Two great teams, two very good performances. Nobody's going to say Oxygen played a bad match, but in the end, round 15 got to where it did, and SSG were able to close it out.
This is a case where I'm 100% okay getting a prediction wrong. Even if like it's on 7-7 and I'm like, hey, part of me is okay if they win and part of me is okay if they lose, and I think this is the kind of result that helps set the tone for an SSG team. Like Lycan said, that was looking for that just a little additional push in the right direction. It feels like they got it. Yeti didn't have a pop-off performance yesterday, but look at him now. Look at what he was able to produce here. His rotates back and forth up staircases, and the fact that SSG didn't crack under the pressure of those 2 runouts to close regulation is really a testament to what they've been able to do in a short span of time.
Yeah, and even though they lost it, like I think we really did see some improvements from Oxygen. We talked about how Vertical had a really rough game yesterday. He went 0-3 on entry, 4-1 on entry today. Second highest frags in the server. Vertical, way better game today, so I'm happy to see that from them. I think OXG will be just fine going forward.
Yep, that's right. Speaking of OXG, we got a couple rounds to watch, a couple replays to break down. The first one is going to be round number 7. This one didn't go quite as well for OXG, obviously, but it is an exciting moment for Hot and Cold. Might as well just take the and Cold off of his name, just call him Hot.
Please do. Houghton had a fantastic round here. He's on the Ying, and he's got some of his utility already used, but the execute is going to come in through to mining, right? They want to get this kit on the ground. They want to be able to clutch up against OXG. Only 12 seconds. Kendall's get thrown out. The plant happens, then Hot and Cold, basically in a 1v3. For the extent of this plant going down, there is a Banshee that could be screaming his position. He's got to be careful where he's standing, but he hits these shots.
Oh my God.
And it's so unfortunate that nobody else is able to line them up. Back-to-back headshots, and he knows where this third person is, and he just does not let go of the trigger, okay? He knows where Fox is at. He's got low HP. Hot and Cold cleans up the third as well with a body shot. Just such a beautiful round from a player that we've known in the past to be one of the best, if not the best player in North America, and now it so feels like he's back.
And he doesn't let the LMG recoil change actually handicap him at all, because he was still pressing mouse 1 and doing what you do. Some people forget Ying's got an LMG. That's all he did. He did not stop. 2 kills around the doorway. Takes a second to readjust, make sure he doesn't die, then swings back around again. It's excellently timed from Hot and Cold.
That's right. So, great play from Hot and Cold. Definitely a big part of Space Station getting the win, but we can't ignore Oxygen completely. Of course, like we talked about, Oxygen having a lot of great moments in that series as well. One of the best came towards the end. It was round number 13 where Newers showed us why he's in contention for genuinely being Rookie of the Year. Like, this kid, he's actually a rookie and he's actually good enough. So let's check that one out.
Newers really did have a fantastic game. If OXG had won, he would easily have been the MVP, but it's just unfortunate that he wasn't able to close it out round after round. This is a 1v3. He should not be able to win it, but he finds the isolated 1v1s. He's playing it patient. He knows there's a lot of time on the clock. That drone being on him means that he knows the enemy knows where he's at. So he's just got to play it safe, okay? He's got intel of his own. Those pings coming in, likely from a bulletproof camera that he's being able to get that info from. He can peek forward, finds one beautiful shot. Got intel in the second as well. How did he find these angles? And then Hot and Cold. Smart to finish the plant here. He knows that he can't actually get killed unless Newers goes for a really wide swing. So they take this long fight. Unfortunate that Houghton couldn't find that frag at the end. Ultimately, though, Newers taking a huge round to keep things interesting for the first round of overtime.
And I do bet there is a little bit of a kernel of truth to Sam's estimation. The reason they didn't push all at the same time might have been because they don't know if there's a nitro in play, and he still might have been able to push at the moment that it goes off. If it's not a distraction, it can still force a much better issue if he's got explosives to deal with. He just gets 1v1s fed at the same moment. It's a little bit of a benefit of the doubt moment for Space Station, but still, if Newers doesn't win that, then we probably don't have to worry about the rest of OT anyway.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, we talk about how hard this one was going to be to predict going into it. It was so hard to predict when it was 7-7. Like, it did not stop. We did not know who was going to take it until it was over. Great way to end the matches for the week, but we're not quite